All right, we are back. We are back. We are back. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We got kicked off there for a quick little second. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We got a few things we're going to talk about. Welcome to episode 4 of Reggie's Recaps, man. We got to go talk about NFL free agency, who's winning so far. We're going to talk about the Falcons, of course. You see the attire. You see your boy. We out here. We are out here for the Falcons. I was very, very skeptical of Kirk at first. I was very, very skeptical, but now we are back. We are back. We are here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started, man. Appreciate you, Yucker, for the follow. As y'all know, it has been a very active 3 days for the NFL. The NFL has definitely free agency has taken over. Of course, you know that the dead period was over, and as a result, we'll get to that, Yucker. As a result, when it comes to free agency and the teams, it has been wild. I think the Falcons, after much consideration, I'm allowed to change my mind. And also look at some of the moves that the Falcons have made. Let's go here. So, of course, the Falcons signed Kirk Cousins. And y'all remember Monday Night Raw. Go follow the Splashcast on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, everything. Also follow Dive Team Media. You see us right there. Ooh, right there. Sorry. Dive Team Media. Or over there behind Kirk Cousins if you're on YouTube. If you're on Instagram, it's right above my head. I'm not as upset about us signing Kirk Cousins as I was before. To answer your question, Yucker, our QB room right now is we got rid of Desmond Ridder. So we have Taylor Heineke and we have Kirk Cousins. I'm pretty sure they will probably, unless Heineke refuses to take a better deal, I'm pretty sure Taylor Heineke will probably be let go too. So right now our QB room is Kirk Cousins. We don't know who else we have, which I have an off the wall brain theory that we'll talk about later that could happen and play out after this year, depending on what happens and how this year goes. So, the Falcons signed Kirk Cousins. Many have said that it is the signing of the offseason, being that before we made any other moves, you already had Bijan Robinson, you already had Kyle Pitts, and you already had Drake London. And the elephant in the room is you had all of these players, and yet Arthur Smith and Desmond Ridder couldn't even get him the ball. So you have now Kirk Cousins. And y'all know I was Mr. Get Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields has just played in an awful franchise. I think he is going down the route of Derek Carr, where Derek Carr played for an awfully run franchise that was brand new, except the only difference is the Bears have no excuse. They're like the oldest. Them and the Packers are like one of the old, or not the oldest franchises in the NFL. But back to it. I think Justin Fields just needs a chance, and I thought the Falcons, with the ability to control him for 2 more years, and you pick up the 5th-year option, which is $20 million, which is still a lot lower than what you'll normally get for somebody else. I thought that Justin Fields was the way to go, but he was unproven. As I said on the Splashcast, this move with Kirk Cousins makes this a win-now move. Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris feel like this team is good enough to compete and win now, and the quarterback was the only reason we didn't win. What's up, G-Code? If quarterback is the only reason we didn't win, then at that point, you have to go get the best game manager you can get. Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris believe in this offensive roster. They believe in the weapons we have. The reason you get rid of a Desmond Ridder is because Desmond Ridder lost you games. He didn't win you games. Desmond Ridder was the reason that you lost. We can go back. We're not going to go. We did this all season. We know when he was Tennessee, Jacksonville, Carolina, Tampa Bay. There's so many in those 4 games. If you win those 4 games, we're going to get there. So Yucker, we're going to talk about the Falcons, then we're going to go to the rest of the players that are still there. But Desmond Ridder lost you those games. Even in those 4 games that he cost you that I just named, if you win those games, you win the division. Arthur Smith still has a job. But Desmond Ridder couldn't get the ball to our playmakers, and he couldn't manage the game, and Arthur Smith couldn't call plays. Arthur Smith, if you go over there and look at Pittsburgh now, he literally traded away their number 2 receiver. So they're back to looking like the Falcons with George Pickens, a tight end, which is a wide receiver. They have a tight end and 2 running backs, and Russell Wilson. So unless they're going to go get somebody else, maybe like T. Higgins, Arthur Smith has turned them into the Falcons of last year. But back to the Falcons, though, to this team, if you believe that your team is a win-now team, if you believe that all these weapons that you can build the defense and you can build in the draft, what you got to believe, Raheem Morris thinks he could take care of the defense because he's a defensive backs coach. He was a defensive coordinator with the Rams. He also coached offense. He's a defensive coordinator with the Falcons. He was DB's coach. He's been everything. So if you believe that you could take care of the defense and that the weapons you have on offense are good enough to win you games, then only thing you need is a game manager. A game manager may not win you games. Kirk Cousins may not actually go out there and win you games, especially in the playoffs. We've seen it, 1-4. Right? He may not win you games in the playoff. Matter of fact, 4th in the season, and he threw it short of the sticks. But even if he doesn't win you games, Kirk Cousins, especially with the way that he was playing before the season was over, he doesn't lose you games either. Right? So if Kirk Cousins doesn't lose you games and he doesn't win you games, we're betting that all we need you to do is be the game manager. Y'all remember recently is the University of Georgia with Stetson Bennett, although I beg to differ, but some other haters think that he was just a game manager. But if you look at the University of Alabama, when they first started their run back in like 2008, with John Parker Wilson and all of those game manager quarterbacks, and everything else around them was just really, 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 really good. That's kind of how Atlanta and Terry Fontenot are going towards this roster. You allegedly you have a top 5 tight end, you have a top 10 receiver, you have a top, I would say Bijan is top 5 running back. Even if he's not top 5 running back, he's got to be top 7. I would say he's a top 5 running back. You got Bijan at top 5 running back. All you needed was a good quarterback to even just win this division without making any more moves. All you needed was a quarterback, and you got Kirk Cousins. You got John Parker Wilson. You got Stetson Bennett. You got the most elite game manager. Shout out to Cam, because folks hate that term, but you got the most elite game manager you can get. Kirk Cousins, we feel that if you put enough around Kirk Cousins, he just won't lose you the game. That's all we're asking you to do. At the very core of this entire movement for Kirk Cousins, this we don't want Justin Fields, this all of that, the front office has said through their moves, Kirk Cousins, all we want you to do is not lose us games. You 36, you coming off an Achilles, cool. We have a decent offensive line, and we think we have a really good running game with 2 running backs and Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. Right? We think we have those guys to relieve some of that pressure. We in our play action game, you really won't have to move. We just need you to navigate the pocket. If you believe at 36 years old with a torn Achilles that you can't, to make this type of bet, you're not expecting for him to do much other than get the ball to the right person in the right time at the right space. That's all we're asking you to do, Kirk. We're giving you $100 million to not F up. That makes sense to y'all? That makes sense to me. That's what this move makes. Before you added anybody with this roster, before you did anything else with this roster, signing Kirk Cousins tells me that all we just want you to do is just not mess up. Don't F up. If you don't F up, we can put the roster around you to be good enough to win we think the roster around you is good enough to win the division. Right? So we already think the roster around you is good enough to win the division. And then, did I freeze? And then we go and we sign Darnell Mooney. 3 years, $39 million. I think $25 million is fully guaranteed. Right? What were some of the things the Falcons always needed? We needed a second receiver. We needed speed. Right? We needed somebody that could run across the field, run across the middle, and we needed a quarterback that can be able to deliver the ball to all three levels. That's all we needed you to do. So if we can deliver the ball at all three levels, Darnell Mooney, to me, with his speed, was a very, very good pickup. A very good under the radar pickup. For those that are saying it was an overpay, yeah, cool, that's fair. But if you look at all these contracts, last year, we knew that we were betting on this year, right? Terry Fontenot knew that he was betting on this year. So last year he did what? A whole lot of 1 year contracts. A whole lot of 1 year contracts, and you get them off the book. CP, hey, we'll get to you soon. Salute, my brother, one of my favorite Falcons. But hey, it is what it is. They already doubled down on Kyle Pitts, right? You already doubled down on Kyle Pitts. So now you have Pitts. So you think he's good enough. You needed speed and you needed a second receiver. To me, I thought Darnell Mooney was going to be that guy that's kind of like a use like Tyreek Hill, where you put him in the slot. He's really your number one. Well, here he would be your number two. He's really your Z receiver. But I thought that you would kind of line him up everywhere, which is something that the Rams and the 49ers do, and the Chiefs, matter of fact. And I thought Darnell Mooney was going to be that guy. So I was still looking for us to go and get another receiver, a bigger receiver, somebody that's like kind of in the middle in terms of height, weight, and speed. Somebody like a 6'1" person. I thought we were going to address that in the draft. But Darnell Mooney, if you remember, he burst onto the scene with like 1,000 yards. Let me pull up these stats real quick. He burst onto the scene with like 1,000 yards, and he made all of those spectacular catches, and he was so good. In what, 2021? Come on, stat muse. 2020 he had 61 catches for 631 yards. In 2021, Darnell Mooney burst onto the scene. He had 81 catches for 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns. And he was supposed to be that guy for Justin Fields. He's in the mode of kind of like a DJ Moore is how he looked. And then they went and got DJ Moore. The Bears fell apart. He got some injuries. Even though he played 15 games last year, he only had 414 yards. He played 12 games the year before. He only had 40 yards and 493. So he has the talent. From what the Falcons have seen, he has the talent. And remember, we have some of the Bears front office came over to the Falcons, and they're still there. So they think highly of Darnell Mooney. If he can turn back into that 2021 person, that changes our offense because he can go over the top, and you have Kirk Cousins, who is one of the better deep ball throwers, especially when it comes to the last couple years of getting Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. Now, it does help that he had Justin Jefferson, the best receiver in the league, but with this group of players, you have a whole lot of mismatches with Darnell Mooney because he's fast. You can't really double team him because we'll get to some of the other moves that we made, but if you leave Darnell Mooney one-on-one and you allow him to kind of run across the field like on the drag routes, the quick outs, and then he can give you like a slant and go, a double move, he could be a problem. That 4-3, he runs a 4-3-8. One of the things the Falcons were lacking was a breakaway receiver and speed. We thought we had that in Scotty Miller. Didn't really work out. Not really. I don't blame any of the players for last year, but it didn't really work out. Darnell Mooney is a legit deep threat. He's a legit good route runner. He runs he runs good drag across the middle of the field. He's going to be that game breaker for us, along with Drake London. What this does is eliminate you from running straight zone or basically makes you run straight zone because you can't really go one-on-one. We've seen Drake London beat one-on-one coverage. We know Darnell Mooney can beat the number 2 receiver. And then you have Kyle Pitts, who is a mismatch for linebackers and DBs. He takes away a safety. So now you're playing one-on-one with no safety, or you're playing zone. And we still got Bijan back there now. We still have Bijan back there. So that with itself, just adding Darnell Mooney makes us kind of interesting on offense. And this move is what started to soften me up on the Kirk Cousins move. Because I wasn't on board, y'all. And I'm still really not. But in terms of the strategy that's developing, it's not bad now. It's not bad. It's not bad. So I like the hire of Darnell Mooney. I think it's one of the more underrated moves that the Falcons made. Of course, they're going to say Kirk Cousins because you needed a quarterback, and everybody believes that. But Darnell Mooney's good. And then Terry, this is when Terry Fontenot had to let y'all know, hey, I really do this though. Terry Fontenot had to let y'all know, like, nah, I'm like that, right? I'm like that. He traded Desmond Ridder, who was so bad. Desmond Ridder was so bad. He traded Desmond Ridder for Rondale Moore, straight up, right? Second round pick, Rondale Moore. Let's look at his. Last year, he had 54 catches for 435 yards. He's another one of those guys that, kind of like Darnell Mooney, needs to prove it. He had a good season with Kyler. He had a good season. He had a decent season as a rookie, and then he did not have a great season afterwards. So he's another one of those guys that has to prove it. But what you don't know about Mooney is that you should know. Mooney is super fast. So there has been a priority. Mooney and Rondale Moore. Let's look up Rondale Moore's 40 time. There it is. Shout out to Google. Ain't no way. Rondale Moore ran a 4.29. Allegedly. I'm looking at it. I'm making sure before I say this now. But Rondale Moore, okay, yeah. He ran a 4.29, 4.31, 4.31 40. He is only 5'7". He's 181 pounds, 5'7". He's a little bowling ball. But when it comes to the 40, it says he ran a 4.29. That's a lot of speed. That's your return man. And that move, to me, took Darnell Mooney out of the Tyreek Hill category and kind of put him in the number 2 receiver type thing. And Rondale Moore is one of those guys, if you can just get him the ball in space, he's so compact and he's so fast that running a 4.29, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy if you think about it. So now you have Darnell Mooney, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, Kyle Pitts, Rondale Moore. Super fast. That's a lot of speed added for 2 players. So now when you have all of those on the field, so if you go tight end, 3 wide receivers, that's 4, 5, 6. Yeah, you go tight end, 3 wide receivers, quarterback, and running back. And Bijan, you can get all of them on the field at the same time. And you have to run zone. And if you run zone, we're killing you. On offense, we're killing you because you have Rondale Moore. But before we get to the back to the front office chefing by Terry Fontenot. Terry flipping Desmond Ridder after that awful season where everybody thinks he's bad for Rondale Moore straight up. What's James Harden? That's cooking. That's cooking, stirring the pot. He's doing that because he has now signed your quarterback. He signed 2 wide receivers. He signed a wide receiver, and then he traded for a wide receiver and lost no draft picks. We still have the 8th pick. We still have the 43rd pick. We still have the 73rd, 75th pick. And we still have the 79th pick. We have 4 picks in the top 80. Some of us wanted him to sign a defensive end. We know that the pass rush is bad, and we are not the team to actually draft good defensive ends. We haven't done it yet. Have we, y'all? Let me know in the comments. I can't think of the last good defensive end we drafted. Maybe Vic Beasley for a year. Vic, maybe. But that's it. But before we get the defense, I forgot. We also signed, this was late breaking. This was at like 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Ray McCloud from Clemson that plays for the 49ers. More speed. Now, I don't really foresee him getting on the field a lot. He and Rondale Moore will compete. For the return man and for the receiver / gimmick plays. I think that's going to be him. And when I say gimmick plays, like jet sweeps, a lot of screens, because those guys are small. But Ray changes the field position. We didn't put Cordell Patterson back there a lot. He was hurt last year. We didn't really put him back there. So because he wasn't back there, as a result, somebody just text me. Send me the link. Okay, my bad. Let's go Dive Team Media. Let me get this link for these people real quick. Y'all know what it is. All right, so we got Ray McCloud. We got a lot of speed. What was I saying about Ray? Sorry about that, y'all. Ray. Oh, so this is the thing about Ray. The Falcons had some of the worst starting field position last year. Cordell Patterson was hurt. And we weren't playing him. And then, as a result, we always started at the 25 or behind the 30. Bring in Rondale Moore, bring in Ray McCloud. That changes everything. Now, we're expecting to start at the 30 regardless, unless you kick it out the end zone. We have a lot of guys that now can run after the catch. Even if you use Rondale or you use Ray, all of those guys can run after the catch. So you have contested catch guys. That's Kyle Pitts. We've seen that. You have contested catch guys in Drake London. We've seen that. You have your big receivers. Even we signed Cardell Hodge, right? So you have contested catch guys. And then you also have run after the catch guys. Darnell Mooney, I kind of paused there because Darnell Mooney is kind of in between. He can make the contested catch, but he's also only 5'11". So you don't really want him to do that a lot. But all of these guys, Ray, Rondale, Darnell, all of these guys can run after the catch. So being able to run after the catch and make those moves after the catch has been absolutely the missing piece. And instead of getting one player, we got 3. Now, we also were trying to get Danielle Hunter, if y'all remember. Sorry about that. Trying to get Danielle Hunter. So as I started talking about the defense, remember the Falcons have not been able to draft a pass rusher. We have not been good at it at all. We went after Danielle Hunter. If you know about Danielle Hunter, he's the Vikings defensive end, kind of disgruntled, 30 years old, which is right up the Falcons' alley, right? We good for signing a 30-plus defensive end that has about 3 to 5 years left. Dwight Freeney was one. John Abraham was another. We're good for signing those guys that allows us. Oh, what was Chris Dishman? Chris Dishman was another. That's way back. You got to be a real Falcons fan to go back to 1998. But you had those guys. You have all of those defensive ends that's 30 years old that we can squeeze 3 or 4 more years out of at the tail end of the career. Danielle Hunter was supposed to be that guy. Danielle Hunter was offered, allegedly, but this has been reported. Danielle Hunter was offered 3 years, $75 million, or maybe that's what he signed for. 3 years, $75 million from the Falcons. And he turned it down to go to the Houston Texans, which is fine. If I had to do that, I would too. Well, I wouldn't say I would too, but he wasn't going to be paired. You don't know who he was going to be paired with here in Atlanta. You would assume that we were going to get a defensive end. And do you really believe in AK-17? I don't necessarily believe in AK-17 from Pittsburgh. From Penn State. But yeah, so Danielle Hunter got 2 years, $49 million. I think we were going to give him 3 years. like $60 million. I think he got about $10 more million from the Texans. And he's teamed up with Will Anderson, who won defensive rookie of the year. I would have loved for the Falcons to sign Danielle Hunter. Would have loved it. But what that tells me is we are not going to draft a receiver now since we didn't get Danielle. I fully expect for us to get Jared Verse or Dallas Turner. Our draft strategy has completely changed. We were talking about trading up, which is interesting because we did talk about trading up and nobody wanted to trade down. I think the Bears are definitely taking Caleb Williams, and that's why we pivoted to Kirk Cousins. I really don't know why people don't like Justin Fields, but maybe they know something we don't know, because I have never seen. He was supposed to be the Steelers. It was supposed to be the Steelers. Then it was supposed to be the Falcons. It was supposed to be the Raiders. It's supposed to be it was some other teams. The Chicago, of course. The Vikings after Kirk. I have never seen a player go from he's destined to be traded for a second-round pick and he'll get something and everybody believes in him to nothing. Nobody likes Justin Fields. And it's like a consensus around the league, apparently. This reminds me, I don't believe that's true, but this reminds me of like Lamar Jackson when the entire league just said, no, we're not going to sign Lamar Jackson. Like that, this seems like that. Like, I don't want to say conspiracy, but like, come on, man. Like, he's still Justin Fields. I would expect him to start somewhere. The Raiders for one, but then they had the Bears offensive coordinator. So before we talk about the rest of the teams and the signings and the free agent steals and the best teams, I have an off the wall theory that I want y'all to let me know how y'all feel about. I think if this plays out the way in my head, I think you get 2 good years out of Kirk Cousins. I think you get 2 good years, and in that third year, I think he regresses so badly because he's already 36. He'll be 38 in the third year, 39, going on to 39. You theoretically, if they can't trade him, you could still trade for Justin Fields. Now, you then have to be able to be a tough negotiator because that 5th-year option is $29 million. But I mean, at that point, he'll still only be like 25. 25? And let's say he gets there next year and just stays there in the system. With the way that the trade market has cooled off for him so fast, so quickly that nobody wants him now, you may be able to still pull that off next year, which is interesting. Let's pivot to the rest of the league. Let me know how y'all feel in the comments, but let's pivot to the rest of the league with free agent news and rumors. So we're gonna go right here with our first comment. How do you feel about Justin Jefferson to the Bengals? Well, let me tell you now. Justin Jefferson to the Bengals is kind of wild. I don't see that happening, but because you would then have to re-sign Justin Jefferson, you have to re-sign Joe Burrow, and you'd have to re-sign Ja'Marr Chase. So I don't know if that happens, but it all started happening when they got rid of T. Higgins. When T. Higgins requested a trade and said he hasn't been talked to since March of 2023 about a contract extension, which, if true, is just awful business. If true, is such bad business. But if that's true, then they already knew they were getting rid of him. And at that point, if you're not going to re-sign T. Higgins, what makes you think you could afford Justin Jefferson and Ja'Marr Chase? Justin Jefferson, Ja'Marr Chase, and Joe Burrow, LSU 2019. All of them are going to get, Jefferson already told you, I want $40 million a year. I think I could get $40 million a year. Ja'Marr Chase, if Justin Jefferson gets $40 million, Ja'Marr Chase going to want 41 or 39. It ain't going to be close. So that's $70 million, $80 million between two players, plus Joe Burrow, who's going to get 50 a year, whatever it is. You know, that's $140 million, and then you got to have everybody else. I don't see that happening, Yucker. It is going to be interesting what happens with T. Higgins, though. I would love to see him in Atlanta, especially with those speedy receivers that we've signed. But I don't know how that. There's just not enough football to go around for T. Higgins, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, and Darnell Mooney and Rondell Moore. It just doesn't happen. So where T. Higgins ends up, the Jets is a good spot. The Chargers is a good spot. Let's see what Shefty got up here. The Chargers is a good spot. But the Chargers already have receivers, though, now that I think about it. The Chargers already have receivers, even though I think didn't they let go of Mike Williams? They let go of Mike Williams, right? Yeah, they did. So Mike Williams is interesting. So I don't know what happens with Justin Jefferson. I think he ends up staying in Minnesota. They already released a statement saying we don't plan on trading Justin Jefferson ever, which I wouldn't. You'd have to come with the entire you'd have to give me your entire draft for 2 years to do that. I wouldn't trade Jefferson. So I don't think he's going anywhere, to answer your question. Let's go into some of these winning moves and some of these losing moves in free agency so far. So if you saw, I was just scrolling through some of these free agent signings. You had Eric Armstead, who went to the Jaguars, sneaky good signing. You had the Chargers didn't sign anybody, but they did cut Mike Williams in order to keep Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack had like 17 sacks last year, 21 before. So that's a smart move. Of course, Pittsburgh signing Russell Wilson, also adding Patrick Queen, and I don't think they're done yet because they still need another receiver. Pittsburgh has definitely had a really, really good offseason. I mean, if you talk about Pittsburgh and a really good offseason, you can't not talk about the Ravens. Baltimore, adding Derrick Henry to that offense, I still think they need another receiver. I still think that Lamar Jackson has to perform in the playoffs in big games. I still think Todd Monken shat the bed. What's up, G-Code? Oh, the Chiefs. Yeah, T. Higgins to the Chiefs would be kind of crazy. I still think that the Ravens need a receiver. I still think that Lamar Jackson has to perform in big games. They still have that chip on their shoulder. I still think Todd Monken has to call a better game. I still think Lamar Jackson has to stop trying to beat people with his arm and just beat people as a football player. It's the same thing that as a Falcons fan, I've seen the same thing happen with Michael Vick. I saw it. Michael Vick, if he just decided to run the ball and just throw the ball to the open receiver and not try to prove anything to people, he talks about it. He'd be unstoppable. And Lamar is right there. We saw it in the Chiefs. We saw it with the Chiefs. He should go. So, and they just cut Odell, so that means they're definitely in the market for a receiver, and they need a younger one because they're spit. Even though they still have Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in the backfield is one of the scariest read options you will have in the league. I probably would put Justin Fields and Bijan Robinson up there, but we didn't do that. It is what it is. Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson with Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews. Rashad Bateman, cool. Yeah, cool story. Probably need to upgrade over there. But you had Derrick Henry. They were already one of the leading rushing teams in the league last year, if not the leading rushing team. They did lose Gus Edwards. They do have their other running back coming off of an injury, but he should be fully healthy, Keaton Mitchell. Baltimore, with that signing, has gotten kind of crazy. I would love to see them go get T. Higgins, though. Ooh, could you imagine if Baltimore got T. Higgins? Jesus Christ. Speaking of T. Higgins, I talked about it before. I don't know what these dudes gonna do, man. You got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. You got to re-sign Tyler Boyd. You're obviously going to trade T. Higgins, or he's going to sit out, and you already traded Joe Mixon to the Texans. So you got to go get a running back and possibly 2 wide receivers. Everybody from Louisiana is saying go get Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Terrace Marshall, and just run LSU 2019 back. And let me tell you, while that is far-fetched for all the reasons that I said before, if you got to pay all those dudes because they're all in the same year, that would be kind of crazy. Because Terrace Marshall is a good receiver number 3. He may not be a good receiver number 2. He's not me going looking up the stats to try to prove it to you either. I'm not going to. But I've seen it when those 4 guys are cooking. And then you add Clyde Edwards-Helaire back there. Now you probably still need to go get another running back. If I'm them, I would probably trade Tyler. I would look at trading Tyler Boyd for a running back, or because obviously there's not a lot of good running backs in the draft this year. Y'all can't name none of them. Since there's not a lot of good running backs in this draft, that's why you've seen so much movement. All the running backs have gotten traded. Everybody just basically swapped everything out, like game of Go Fish. And at that point, you may have to make a trade for a running back. I don't know who they have behind Joe Mixon. It couldn't have been that many people. So the Bengals have some questions to answer. But the Eagles. Oh, let me forget. Don't let me forget now. The Eagles low key have had a great offseason. They ended real badly last year after going 10-1, then ended up getting knocked out by Baker. Shout out to Baker getting his money. But they signed Chauncey Gardner-Wilson, right? They signed a couple other players, but of course the signing of the day for them. Come on, where is it? Shout out to Marcus Mariota, still getting paid. The signing of the day for them, and probably the number 2 signing of free agency so far, is of course Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley with Jalen Hurts. Pretty good read option too now. So you got a read option with Lamar. You got a read option with Jalen. We could have been Falcons. Could have been number 3. I won't keep saying that though. Saquon got his money. He's going to a division rival, which means I get to play y'all. So every time I get to see y'all for the next, I get to play y'all 12 times for the next 6 times in the next 3 years, and assuming that we don't play each other in the wild card, right? That means I got 6 times to let y'all know that y'all pick Danny Dimes over me. And then after seeing how bad Danny Dimes was, after seeing him literally be one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, I still came to you and said, hey, y'all really should pay me. And you still said no. As far as I'm concerned, well, yeah, I'm going to go to a division rival. I want you to know every single time. Every time you see me, it's up. Y'all remember that on site? Y'all know what on site means, right? Tiki Barber out there talking about you're dead to me and all that. All this is the official football version of on site. When Saquon walks in the building, they're going to boo him, and he's going to try to go for 1,000 yards. He's going to try to score 42 touchdowns in those 6 games against the Giants. Now, we all know that Saquon isn't what he used to be. That ACL injury for his style of play was devastating. But he's still a good back now. He's still in that Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson mode of I can catch the ball out the backfield. I can run routes. Raiders missing out on Devin White. Yeah, Devin White, that was tough. I can't see the chat. That must be multi-stream. I can't see who that is. But yeah, the Raiders missing out on Devin White was a big deal. That's Matt Lincoln. What's up, Matt? So if I'm Saquon, I would have gone to the Eagles. I would have gone to the Washington Commanders. I probably would have gone, I just want to win. But if I wanted to be petty, I would have went to the Commanders, a team that y'all are supposed to beat, and I would have beat y'all. Right? So the NFC East is quietly retooled. The Giants made some moves. I think they added a defensive end, if I'm not mistaken. The Giants did add a defensive end, which is not bad, to pair with Kayvon Thibodeau. But they still have some work to do on offense. But Saquon to the Eagles makes the Eagles extremely, extremely dangerous. They were already a top rushing attack. And the Eagles retooled their defense amidst losing a lot of players. I think they got Josh Huff, if I'm not mistaken. Bryce Huff. Yeah. I'm not wrong. They got Bryce Huff, a rush in. They're already going to lose Hassan Riddick. Hey, Falcons. You're going to get him. I think Josh Sweat may be out of there too for them. So getting Bryce Huff was big. The Eagles had quietly has kept a really, really, really good offseason. If I had to choose who has had the best offseason so far, I would probably say, that's who the Giants got. They got Brian Burns, which is a really good pickup. I would say the Falcons, the Ravens, and the Eagles have won the offseason so far. With the Texans, I'm telling you, Danielle Hunter is tough. Do the Raiders trade with the Patriots to get Ohio State QB or trade with the Bears for Fields? Ohio State's QB is Fields. I'm assuming you mean Ohio State's wideout, Marvin Harrison Jr. But in turn, I personally think if you're going to trade, you could do both. You could trade and go up and get Marvin Harrison Jr. because right now it's pretty much him going to Arizona. And you could go get Justin Fields. Either way. But I feel like if you were going to do that, you're a second or third round pick for Justin Fields isn't going to change no matter how long you wait. The Bears would rather just sit still and not trade Justin Fields and just hold on to him and make him a backup until one of y'all need him, until somebody gets hurt and need him. Then you're going to do that. So if you're going to do that, then if I'm the Raiders, I trade a 3rd round pick for Justin Fields. And I put him in a competition with Gardner Minshew. But the caveat in that is, or the thing that holds that back is, I think Eberflus is y'all's offensive coordinator now. Or Nagy, I can't remember. No, it's Eberflus. Nobody's going to. You didn't play Justin Fields before. You're definitely not going to play him now. Like, you're definitely not going to play him now. So, kind of is what it is at that point. I will say there were a couple of under the radar signings that I feel were really, really good. The Bears with Everett at tight end to go along with Cole Kmet was a really good signing. The Panthers quietly, they signed Deontay Johnson and they signed somebody else. The Panthers had a pretty good signing when it comes to comes to free agency. Armstead to the Jaguars. I said that was a big one. Here we go. Steal of the offseason so far. Calvin Ridley to the Titans to pair with Treylon Burks and DeAndre Hopkins. 4 years, $92 million, $50 million guaranteed. First off, I'm going to go ahead and apologize, even though I didn't say these things in public. I thought them, and I said them on Twitter. Shout out to the Jaguars. I thought you guys were just stupid. Oh, Jaden Daniels. You're talking about trading up for Jaden Daniels. He's from LSU, not Ohio State. Shout out to... So, to answer your question, Matt, I don't hate that either way. Right? I don't hate that either way. You could either sign... You could trade for Justin Fields or get Jaden Daniels. I don't think there's a lot of difference in either one. I think Justin Fields is a better passer. I think Jaden Daniels is a better runner. So it all depends on what you want. If you're the Raiders. But back to the steal of the offseason. Russell Wilson is honorable mention for steal of the offseason so far. Because, I mean, the Steelers are getting him for $1.2 million. Shout out to Sean Payton, bum-ass coach. The Steelers are getting him for like $1.2 million. C.J. Gardner to the Eagles was definitely a good one, Russ. C.J. Gardner to the Eagles, I can't lie and say that I don't believe in that one because I definitely do. But Calvin Ridley to the Titans all of a sudden makes that, especially with Tajay Spears, and I believe they signed Tony Pollard. And you got rid of Vrabel. You were a big, rumbling 4-4, 1980s, 1990s type offense. One receiver, kind of like Arthur. Shout out to Arthur Smith. You were an Arthur Smith offense. You were a one receiver, one power back, one tight end offense. And now you have finally evolved into the 21st century. Calvin Ridley is an elite route runner. You're right, Matt. Calvin Ridley is an elite route runner. Right? They already have DeAndre Hopkins, who's a really good contested catch guy, as well as a good route runner. Right? You have Treylon Burks, who's like, he's your seams guy. He's 6'3", and he allegedly runs like a 4.4. I think he got hurt, so it's going to be difficult. But he runs like a 4.4. So if you have those three guys, they do need to sign a tight end. I don't know who their tight end is now. But to have Calvin Ridley there as your number, I'm assuming with this amount of money, he's your number one. And DeAndre Hopkins is either your number two, but of course Hopkins is going to say he's the 1B. Will Levis. You kind of like Kirk Cousins, just on the cheap. You just need to go out there and not lose games. With all those people around you, especially throwing the ball, you need to go out there and not lose games. So I think the Titans definitely stole the last day of free agency with this signing. There were a bunch of other signings. I told you the Falcons signed Elijah Moore. I don't really know what the Commanders are doing, but they did send Sam Howell to the Seahawks with some pick swaps for a 3rd and a 5th rounder. So you can pretty much bet the bank that they're going to draft a quarterback. I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe it's Drake May. A lot of people see Drake May and Matt Ryan in terms of the stature and the build. Drake May has a little bit of a stronger arm, but he's known for his smarts. He took some chances. But I see the Commanders taking somebody, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, or maybe the Commanders trade for Justin Fields. I don't know what Dan Quinn is doing, but they did trade Sam Howell. The Eagles again, Devin White to the Eagles. The Eagles have totally retooled their defense. Right? They've totally retooled their defense. They had a lot of change, a lot of turnover. And they ended up, I think the Eagles added those reinforcements as well. You're right, Matt. Christian Wilkins to the Raiders defensive line looks kind of silly. Now, there's still some available free agents. Well, never mind. Jordan Poyer signs with the Dolphins. But there's still some available free agents, kind of the bottom of the barrel. That's mean to say. But kind of the guys that, are waiting. Austin Eckler to the Commanders was an interesting signing. Carlton Davis being traded to the Lions was very, very good. Where did Xavier McKinney go? The Packers. I'm sorry, the Packers. Josh Jacobs, Xavier McKinney. Crazy signing. Really, 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 really good. So I still think that there's some other moves that need to be made. The Vikings quietly have used that money that they saved with Kirk Cousins to kind of add and build some pieces around. But if y'all don't go get a quarterback, Justin Jefferson is as good as gone. I don't know who y'all think y'all gonna get, but y'all better get one soon. Because if you don't, Justin Jefferson, I don't care how much the GM says, I'm not trading him, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. He's out of there. Kyle Juszczyk staying in San Francisco. Why am I not surprised? Let's go to available free agents. That'll be our last thing. We'll wrap this up with the available free agents when it comes to the NFL. Available free agents. Here we go. 10 of the best free agents, NFL free agency tracker. So you still have a lot of guys that are still open. The Bucs signed Antoine Winfield Jr. to franchise tagged him, so they got to get a deal done. Josh Allen franchise tag with the Bucs. All of those franchise tag players, you kind of gotta monitor those guys as it comes up towards the draft in the next month, because nobody likes playing under the franchise tag. So if you play under the franchise tag and you get hurt, now you stuck. So you still have safety Cameron Curl, Chase Young. Has there ever been a bigger fall off than Chase Young? I'm surprised the Falcons. Knock on wood. Falcons, do not go get Chase Young. I was just joking. Don't get Chase Young. Stephon Gilmore, Tredavion Clowney, Trent Brown, Marquise Brown, Mr. No Hands himself. He's still there. Julian Blackmon, that's a solid safety, and he's only 25 years old. He's still there. Mekhi Becton. I don't think anybody will pick him up. He's forever be known as the guy that the Washington Commanders, that hurt Aaron Rodgers. Got Aaron Rodgers hurt on the first play of the game. OBJ at 31. He's still around. Tyler Boyd is still around. Jordan Fuller, another safety. So the Falcons actually need a couple safeties. When it comes to our defense, we need a safety. We got Jesse Bates, but that other dude, Richie Grant, he needs to be a special teams player. We need somebody else. A.J. Dillon is still there. Ryan Tannehill, 35. Woo. And, of course, the mountain known as Calais Campbell. We want you back, big dog. if you decide to come back, I know that you're 38 and it'll be difficult. But I did not know the Titans signed Kenneth Murray as well. That's a good signing as well. There has been a lot of movement. But there's still some more waiting. Now, when it comes to the draft, I always run mock drafts. I run mock drafts like every day for the Falcons. Every single day. Every mock draft I ran until Kirk Cousins, even with Kirk Cousins, I never drafted a quarterback because I knew we weren't going to go get the quarterback. A quarterback wasn't going to fall for us, and I just didn't hear of anybody actually trying to trade down except for Buffalo. I'm sorry, not Buffalo, except for the Bears, but the Bears had Caleb, or going to get Caleb Williams. I really am not that high on anybody else but Caleb Williams. Drake May's cool. I'm not cool with J.J. McCarthy. And Jaden Daniels, I think he doesn't fit the Falcons' timeline. And obviously, what's his name didn't think so either. So our draft strategy now, I always took Malik Nabers. And I still really thought we were going to take Malik Nabers with these until we sign Rondale Moore and Darnell Mooney. Now, if you get Malik Nabers, then Rondale Moore and Darnell, one of those aren't going to be on the team or they're not going to have a big role, which I don't think is the case. So in that case, Jordan Poyer, no, the safety from Denver is still not there. The other one might be there. I think the Falcons will draft an edge. I think we will end up, you're right, we don't, shout out to Russ and the world. Thanks for you guys for tuning in. We don't need Chase Young. We definitely need Dallas Turner or Jared Verse. That is our number one pick. I've seen Rome Odunze from Washington, and while we just drafted speed, you basically will have three of the same player in 40-pound weight range. So Drake London is like 220. Kyle Pitts is like 240. Odunze, I'm sorry, is like 240. Drake London is like 210. Odunze is like 230. So you're going to have all of those guys are the same person. And you can only have 5 skill players on the field at one time, aside from the quarterback. And that leaves you with 6 along with Algier. So I don't see us going and getting Odunze, but I definitely see us getting a defensive end, and we may trade down. I wouldn't do that, but we may trade down. You never know. So there were some other moves that the Falcons made. We did a lot of depth moves. Cardero Hodge was one. We signed Storm Johnson, who is our our backup guard, or center, I want to say. We signed him as well. So we have our depth, but we got to go get our playmakers. And I think that's what the draft is for. I wouldn't be surprised if the Falcons get Terrion Arnold. Look for that. Look for that one. We need another corner. Yeah, we definitely need another corner. I think our slot corner is filled with Clark Phillips and D. Alford. I think when we go to dime, I think we're good. But we need another corner. We need another safety. And we need a defensive end. Maybe 2. We got to be able to get to the passer. I don't think Jeff Okudah was as bad as y'all think. You think we need O-line, Russ? Y'all think we need O-line? I don't think our Jeff Okudah was as bad as y'all thought. He played really, really well at the beginning of the year. And if you remember at the beginning of the year, we were getting to the pressure. We're getting pressure. I think all of our cornerbacks and safeties take another step forward, including A.J. Terrell and Jesse Bates, even though Jesse Bates was the best safety in the league last year. I think he takes another step forward if you can rush the passer. You got to be able to rush the passer. There we go. You got to be able to rush the passer. So that's where Dallas Turner comes in, especially in a 3-4 defense. It's all about speed. He's got speed and power. I do like Jared Verse now. If Dallas Turner for some reason isn't there, I am not mad at drafting Jared Verse, who ran a 4.5. I think you may have to add another defensive tackle. I know Grady Jarrett is your defensive tackle now, but I don't think he's a one technique. I think he's a 3 to 5 technique. So I think you're going to play him kind of like as a defensive tackle, defensive end type player. But you still need that big, run stuffer in the middle. Look for T'Vondre Sweat in the second round. We got Zach Harrison at end. He could set edges and he could still get upfield. Babineau, he retired. We still have the other guy from Oklahoma State we drafted. We have some pieces along the defensive line, but we only have one difference maker. And we need to draft difference makers. Corner, safety, and defensive end. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we've been here for an hour. Like I said before, we're going to end on, I told y'all Kirk Cousins is the most elite game manager we got, and we are literally asking him to not lose us games. And I'm okay with that. Off season, I think the Jaguars and the Steelers, the Steelers and the Titans had some of the best off seasons. I think the Ravens and the Steelers the Ravens are right behind them. I have no clue. I think the Texans are right there. I have no clue now what the Bengals are going to do. The Eagles have had a good offseason as well. I also, again, look for Mike Williams. The Raiders, quietly as kept, have gotten better. And we always want to see them as well. But before I get out of here, man, March Madness is starting. Shout out to all of the conference tournaments going on and conference champs. The Splash Cast, we talk about the SI, we talk about all HBCU sports as much as we can. SIAC, MEAC, SWAC, Ohio Valley, whoever has HBCUs in there, we talk about it. So, and CIAA, of course. So when it gets to the tournament, what do we always say we're doing? Well, I say it. I'm not gonna bring Norwood in there. We going for the blacks, y'all. We peace out. Love y'all. See y'all the next time. Tune in Saturday morning live. We doing prop bets. Tune in Monday Night Raw. We get ready for the draft and we talk about some of these games in the NBA. And then Reggie's recaps may be back next Thursday, depending. Might be back in 2 weeks, but it'll definitely be back for the NFL draft. As always, remember, like, follow, subscribe. If you go to Dive Team Media, it'll take you to a link to the Splashcast YouTube page. It'll also take you a link to I'm turning my page into Reggie's Recaps. We are going to have our own network. If you're looking to partner with Dive Team Media, if you have a message that you want to get out there, we are not just a sports network. We are there for millennials, especially our community. Millennials, Gen Z, we're working on a show to get information out about politics and trending topics. We want to do a money marketing show. We want to do health. Shout out to Black Health. We keep saying we're going to get with y'all. We want to be able to work with Black Health, broadcast some of their material. We want you guys to be able to be this. We want Dive Team Media to be a one-stop shop where you can come get the arts. You can come get STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. You can come get sports from the Splashcast or from Reggie's Recaps. You can come get music and sports, kind of get the business side from Norwood. We also, like I said, are working on a whole bunch of stuff for current events. We want to work with health. We want to partner with anybody in our community that is uplifting and working to uplift our community. We also are working with various charities to start giving back. You know that we always talk about, if you don't have a charity to give back, just donate to the Splashcast or donate straight to that alumni or straight to the school. If you only have $18.68 for Hampton or $18.65 for Southern or whatever the school's founding year, just donate that a month and just look at how much our schools will invest. We are looking to partner with alumni associations. We're looking to partner with and have sponsorships with Black-owned businesses, with scholarship foundations. We are looking to make a mark in our community for the better. We look forward to hearing y'all. Again, like,